Just weeks before The Wasteland was first published in New York as a book-length poem, a rumor spread that its American author had attempted suicide. In mid-November 1922, the story reached Manhattan, where Edmund Wilson was managing editor of Vanity Fair. Wilson's friend, the American poet John Peel Bishop, had been drinking in Paris with Ezra Pound, who recounted how Tears Eliot, as some Paris wit has recently christened him, had at one time decided to kill himself, though he had funked at the final moment. Bishop makes it sound as if this incident took place some years earlier. His account claimed wrongly that The Wasteland's author was tubercular. Evidence to corroborate the suicide claim is lacking, but Bishop, who had just been reading The Wasteland in the Criterion, the supposedly suicidal poet's new London-published cultural magazine, ran together his interpretation of this poem in which everybody is in a hell of a fix, with what he understood Pound to be telling him about its author's precarious psychological state. If The Wasteland struck some early readers as a cry of personal despair, it also spoke to their era. Not least for Americans who had come to Europe, it articulated a shared sense of Great War waste. Pound wrote of wastage as never before, while earlier in 1922 Bishop and Wilson, two young Princeton graduates who had served in France with the U.S. Army, then survived the global Spanish flu pandemic, had published their book about death, The Undertaker's Garland, lamenting how the whole world seemed poisoned with decay, so that even the winds of spring had come to be tainted now with the foulness of those 7 million dead. Presenting April as the cruelest month and portraying living dead commuters in modern commercial London, The Wasteland spoke for this generation who had perceived that all Europe had recently reached a point at last where it could think of nothing but death. While in America, too, as Bishop and Wilson put it, life had become a sort of death. The Wasteland fused the trauma of a shattered Western world with an appalling personal crisis. Le style, c'est l'homme, quoted Henry Eliot to his younger brother Tom, adding that the personality of the artist was not irrelevant as you claim. If Tom had already told his mother that he had put so much of his own life into The Wasteland, and his English close friend Mary Hutchinson had interpreted it as Tom's autobiography, a melancholy one, then soon his old Harvard confidant, Conrad Aiken, would see the brilliant poem's anatomy of melancholy as far-reaching, arguing that its poet's sense of the literary past was overmastering.